All right, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Mark Alcock. I'm from EBSCO. I'm a product manager, director of product management, I should say. This is OpenRS a year in review, which is to say that this time last year we were in London talking about what we had just started doing with MOBIUS and we're going to be doing with GALILEO. So this is we said we'd come back in a year's time and give an update as to where we've got to. So this is what the purpose of this meeting is. So thank you for joining us. And for those of you online, thank you for joining in as well. I'm joined by Lucy Howson from GALILEO and from Donna Bacon from MOBIUS, who will be doing you'll be pleased to know, most of the talking. So he said, yay. I'm just going to give a brief overview of the OpenRS Coalition, who we are and what we do and kind of why we do it. A little bit of an update on new features delivered in the past year, so just where we've kind of got to. And then I'm going to hand over to Lucy and Donna, who are going to give their updates as to what's happened with them in the past year. And then we'll kind of wrap up at the end. Just to note that the slides that you see today will be posted to Sched or Shed, I pronounce that, should you wish to take notes or have them later. And there should hopefully be time for questions at the end as well. I hope you can all read this at the back. This is just a brief reminder of what OpenRS is. The way that we describe ourselves is that we are a do-ocracy, and a do-ocracy is that we reward people who do stuff. So if you're in OpenRS, then we want people to engage with us, to help us develop the system or help them do the development themselves. And it's a collaboration. We're looking for a kind of a lightweight approach to how we go about doing our kind of business, really. And we're very keen to reward action and to make it work for everybody who's involved, whether it be those who are the consortium themselves, but also for the vendors who are involved in it as well. And you can see on the right-hand side, those who are involved at the top, it should say, EBSCO, who have been involved in the funding of this, some of the development around, especially Locate, which is the discovery interface that's used, project management, and the other things that you can see there. Knowledge integration, also funders, but also the primary developers, some of whom are in the front row here. So if you can speak to them at the end of this, please do. We are a member, as you're obviously aware, of the Open Library Foundation. And then you can see the list of members listed down here. So MOBIUS and GALILEO, who are current customers, MCLS, Marmot, Colorado Station of Research Libraries, GRILO, the Greater Western Library Alliance, Florida Virtual Library Campus, and obviously EBSCO and KINT. The key thing, I think, in the past year is that we have seen sustained commitment from all of those members. They are all engaged in this process. They are all turning up to the weekly meetings that we have with the Founders Council. What we haven't yet done is move to a more formal process, but we are in the process of becoming an SMLLC under the auspices of OLF. So it's just important to remember that this kind of the cooperative side, the coalition side of this is important, just as important as the software and the approach that we've been going through on that as well. So just a kind of a brief overview of that. Founding principles, and I think this is really, really important, is that we are hospitable and welcoming and celebrate all types of libraries. So academics, publics, school, government, commercial, large and small, and multi-type consortia. So it really matters that if that's how you're doing your business, if that's how you do your resource sharing, we want to provide a solution that works for you and the way that you do it. So we're agnostic of the ILS that you use. So at the moment, there's Alma and Sierra and Polaris, as well as Folio in OpenRS, and there are more to come. And also resource sharing systems. We don't, how you do your business is how you do it. We can use your central index and also your discovery system. So it's important to us that if you have current infrastructure in place, we can help you use that again, or you can go with the stuff that we have provided. So obviously EBSCO provides hosting and Locators discovery, but there are other things as well, such as ViewFind. And also hosting. So EBSCO provides hosting, but you can also self-host as well. So these are the kind of foundational principles, and obviously we are, as we move forwards with the current members and potentially new ones, we're looking to encourage people who kind of engage and want to support the way that we are doing things, which is not to say you have to do it in a particular way. It's more that we want to suit and kind of make our systems work around your workflows. So where do we fit in on that note then? Where do we fit in? So we have solutions. If you were here yesterday, and I think we may be able to share the slides from yesterday, there's a fantastic presentation from my colleagues at KINT showing the component parts of OpenRS. There are solutions for interlibrary loan, solution for direct consortial borrowing. We haven't yet got onto document delivery and controlled digital lending, but we probably will. Certainly with document delivery, we definitely will. But OpenRS is designed to be a suite of solutions that is hospitable to all of those ways of doing resource sharing. That's if you take nothing else away, take that away. That's how we are running our, that's how we roll, if you like. So OpenRS fits into that space, and what you'll hear from Donna and Lucy is mostly around the direct consortial borrowing piece, but also a bit around the interlibrary loan piece. But if you want to see the component parts in kind of how they operate, then either speak to me afterwards, and we'll try and get you that link to those presentations that we gave yesterday at the workshop, because they give you a lot of detail about how this operates together. So I hope you can see this online. I hope you can see this at the back. This time last year, this was just a long wish list of stuff that we said we were going to do. And I'm delighted to say that now we have delivered all of these things down here, live and in production. And that's a huge amount of effort that's gone into that, including integration with Locate DCB, staff requests, request lives on the share system. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of heavy lifting got into that. You'll be interested, I think, to know that the ALMA connector is now ready to go live, which is something that we've been developing with Galileo, and likewise the interlibrary loan interlibrary loan app is also ready to go live with Galileo, hopefully soon. And then in user acceptance testing, you can see the pick up at member library, so let's pick up anywhere, and a variety of other things that are on this slide as well. So you can pick these slides up later and go through these, but there's an awful lot of, in each one of these, there's an awful lot of effort and heavy lifting that's got into this, but it's really improved the product in that last year. And when we said we were going to do this stuff, I think the key message from this slide is that we have done this stuff, and it is there, and you'll see later that it's available. The other thing which is also worth bearing in mind here, so I talked about the ALMA connector, so that joins the connectors into Folio, Polaris and Sierra. That means that librarians who are in those systems stay in those systems. If they're doing DCB, then they stay in their system. You don't have to go somewhere else. And that's really important. It's a really key part of the overall ethos of OpenRS. The IRL thing is now will be available, and that opens up a whole new raft of ways of doing interlibrary loan through OpenRS. Clustering, I won't go into any detail here, and I don't think Vivian is here to talk about clustering, but clustering is a huge part of what we've been doing, making sure that your records cluster together, group together in ways that make sense to your patrons. That's the key part of clustering. But also, I just want to talk about DCB for admin and admin for libraries. These are things that actually were not necessarily presented this time last year, but KINT have gone through this and are trying to make, or are making, OpenRS much more of a product. It's not just a response to project needs, it's productizing it so that you can have an interface for librarians and consortial staff, which is really easy and really intuitive to use. And that was one of the things that really came across in the presentation yesterday, is that this is a self-sustaining product. It's continuing to build on the applications that have already been created and making them better in ways that suit everybody over time. So there's more work has gone in that you see. If you're familiar with JIRAs, then you'll know the kind of level of effort that goes into building these things. So it's about leveraging the expertise from both our customers and members, but also from the vendors and KINT, especially in this case. So on that note, I am now going to sit down and hand over to Lucy, who's going to talk about Galileo.
Okay, and I'm going first, and then Donna's going to finish up. So Galileo Interconnected Libraries, or GIL, that is the portion of Galileo that is going live on both Folio and on OpenRS. And I'm Lucy Harrison. I'm the Executive Director of Galileo as a whole. This is, if you were in the earlier session, I couldn't remember exactly how many libraries we have, but I did get them right on this slide. 26 libraries within the University System of Georgia have been set up on Folio and on some level OpenRS, 2 law school libraries, and the Georgia State Archive. So if you add that up, that is in fact 29. So. We are currently on ALMA. These institutions are currently on ALMA, except for UGA Law, which is on Sierra. We are moving to to Folio, Enhanced Consortial Support, and OpenRS. Just as a note, so that's GIL, right? Galileo Interconnected Libraries. Galileo as a whole also supports the entire state of Georgia. So we also support the public libraries across the state, the K-12 libraries, technical colleges, and some private higher ed and private K-12 libraries. However, we support those on content discovery authentication, and we are not running library management systems for those. But perhaps there's an opportunity to involve those folks in OpenRS down the road, which is why I mentioned it. So just a high-level timeline of the Galileo/GIL implementation. We did a request for information back in 2021 to determine whether there were open source solutions that might meet our needs that we could then fold into an RFP process, which we did. We did an RFP, and Folio and OpenRS were selected in 2023, although I don't believe the RFP response actually mentions OpenRS because I don't think it was called OpenRS. It was just sort of a conceptual resource sharing solution, consortial borrowing solution, but it is now has since become OpenRS. We were on a 2-year implementation timeline, which has been delayed just a little bit. We are only the second consortia working on OpenRS, with MOBIUS being the first. And we were initially planning to go live this summer. We have delayed that until December 2025, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. So our requirements for resource sharing, let me get rid of this little okay, maybe you'll be able to read slightly more of it. Nah, you can't. Does anyone remember what that little shifty? Thank you.
Control-Alt-Shift-H.
Seems perilously close to Control-Alt-Delete, but I'm Control-Alt-Shift-H. Thank you. All right. Is this little black bar across there? I guess, yes. So our requirements, as outlined in our RFP, were essentially that we wanted to meet our current level of resource sharing through what we call GIL Express. Why does it sound like there's a rocket about to take off?
Take it off.
Okay, I'm going to ignore that and keep going. But we've had what we call GIL Express. We've had that functionality for a while now, and we are currently using ALMA resource sharing in order to meet that need. But the ability to borrow amongst ourselves as institutions, as universities, was what we were looking to replicate at a minimum. This is our minimum requirements. So we wanted to have resource sharing across our libraries and with some non-member libraries, real-time availability of holdings, both within the schools that are on ALMA, and also we have within the GIL group and also outside of the GIL group, direct requesting of materials within EDS and locate, which again we don't currently have the EDS portion, but with ALMA, but we would like to have that. Patron self-service features, again, both at the institutional and consortial level, and in EDS and locate. Load balancing, automated patron notification, consortial and local blocking of patron accounts, pickup anywhere, lookup service, and a seamless transition to ILO. And I have a question there because what does seamless mean really? Yeah, that eye in the eye of the beholder, I guess. Where we are currently. Our functionality, our last round of user testing, which finished up just a month or 2 ago, OpenRS has passed our acceptance testing for phase 3 with a few caveats. There are a few tweaks. There are a few things that are still coming. Some functionality is still being tweaked. Some workflows are still being investigated, and interfaces are still being released for OpenRS. So the interfaces being, again, locate and EDS, both at the institutional and consortial level. The implementation team, our implementation team locally, has provided their kind of final, this is what we need requirements for go live. At least we are getting at least one OpenRS update before we go live. We will be complete with our testing by the end of October. And I'll also note that this is not just testing on OpenRS. We are going live on Folio. We are, going live on some other things that are related to this. So this is kind of the entirety of our testing will be complete by the end of October. And in some cases, this kind of overlaps, right? Some cases that because OpenRS integrates so closely with Folio, sometimes it's not really a OpenRS issue so much as a Folio issue that we need to get addressed. We are aiming for a go live on December 16th. By early November, we expect to be ready to go live, and then we'll have sort of a freeze and a normalization period over the next month or so. We are planning our Gil Express freeze, so for patrons, they will no longer be placing those requests in Alma after November 19th. That's pretty close to the Thanksgiving break. We suspend the service anyway over the holidays, but this gives us time to get the production environment ready for December 16th. Users won't be using it until they come back in January. So it gives us several weeks to fine-tune things, smooth things out, do some additional testing. As I said, consortial sharing is always on pause over the winter break anyway, and then full speed ahead, knock on wood, fingers crossed, every appendage crossed in January of 2026. We do have some, in addition to our initial requirements, we do have some post-go requirements. These are things that we've already identified and we're already on our requirements list, but we agree that they could wait. So document delivery, digitization requests, Mark alluded to the fact that they are working on those. Return anywhere with a question mark. We already have pickup anywhere within our group, right? So if you think of a user, say a UGA student who's requesting an item from the University of North Georgia to be picked up at Valdosta, that's already possible, and you can already return it at any of those 3 libraries. What happens if you try to return it at Atlanta Metro College? That's not going to. It'll be the same as if you returned it to the local gas station, right? It's not. OpenRS doesn't know about that. So how are we going to deal with that? We need to at least address that. There are several flow and notification refinements that we'd like to see. Patron information is currently masked, although I understand they're unmasking part of it before we go live, perhaps, maybe. But that is certainly something that our libraries would like to be able to see kind of the request with at least some patron information associated with it, as it's making its progress through the request workflow. Some important error messages and some staff workflow improvements. And again, some of these could be Folio improvements and not really OpenRS improvements. And also DCB for libraries, which Mark mentioned, we think is going to be huge. We don't currently have access, our libraries don't currently have access to that, but that's going to allow your part-time circ worker to do some things that now require sort of a higher level of authority to address. Longer term desires. So these are things those are sort of that in the next, a few months to a year after go live. But longer term, we are interested in controlled digital lending. Are currently doing controlled digital lending, and with some of the lawsuits and so forth that have happened, that's why I have a question mark. I don't know whether we have an appetite for that longer term, and it sounds like OpenRS is also, kind of on the fence about that. Certainly, we're looking at integrating with other consortia down the road. Once we get stable, we would love to utilize the power of OpenRS to connect with some other folks within the state. So we support the Georgia Public Library Service through content. The Georgia Public Library Service would love to be able to more seamlessly borrow from the university system and vice versa. Also the technical college system. They are currently all on Alma, so it would be great to use the Alma connector to be able to request things from them. Possibly other states. You saw the list of folks who were on the OpenRS Founders Council. Love to integrate with MOBIUS, with Florida. Start building a network that looks a little bit more like interlibrary loan, perhaps, than just consortial resource borrowing. So the full interlibrary loan integration is not just functionality, but also expanding to other groups, right? It's a chicken and egg kind of thing. You got to have the folks who can fulfill those interlibrary requests and also the functionality that allows them to do that. And that is it from me. And again, we are not currently. So take everything I just said with a grain of salt, and I'm going to hand it over to Donna, who has the actual live experience.
Thanks, Lucy.
Hi, I'm Donna Bacon. I'm the director at MOBIUS. Zero at. Whoops, I went backwards. I feel like I've talked about this so many times. I was hesitant about what to talk about on this time and who's heard what. I fully support everything that Lucy said and what their long-term plans are, and I didn't want to repeat some of the things that she's already said. But a lot of their long-term goals are the same ones that we have as well. So what I wanted to do was talk a little bit about where we got to where we are now and our experience over the last year of what we've discovered of what we've done wrong and what we've done right over the last year. A little bit about who we are. The 501c library membership organization. We're based in Columbia, Missouri, and we serve libraries throughout the Midwest region. We have 72 member libraries. Out of that, there are 44 universities and colleges, 13 community colleges, 7 seminaries, 4 special libraries, and we have 5 public libraries. And around our membership felt it was time to do an RFP. We had been on Innovative Interfaces system since 1998. There had not been an RFP done since then. We were running a Sierra system, a shared ILS for 62 libraries. And we were also using InReach for our resource sharing system. So we had been on that same system. Well, it hadn't been Sierra since 1998, but you know what I mean. We'd been on an innovative system for that many years. So what we decided to do was to do an RFI in early 2021 just to gather some general information about the marketplace because it had changed so much over the years, and to provide that to our membership and let them know what was going on. And then we eventually issued an RFP in November 21 for a shared ILS and for a new resource sharing system. We ended up choosing Folio as our next shared ILS. And as Lucy said, there was no OpenRS. It did not have a name, but we chose it as our next resource sharing system. Why did we choose OpenRS? I'm not going to go into Folio. This is all about OpenRS. Because we needed to find an open source system that was patron initiated and fully integrated into multiple ILS systems. EBSCO and Knowledge Integration responded to our RFP, and they showed us a clear technical path to accomplishing all the necessary enhancements that we needed for our system. That was difficult to do considering we'd been on InReach for 25 plus years. And there was nothing in the marketplace that really was going to be able to do what we needed to do. And we knew InReach was going away eventually. And there was nothing really out there to replace it. And so we were having a difficult time. Our RFP committee decided to move forward and accept their proposal. And that's what we've been working on for the last couple years. We also felt like the architecture that they proposed to us, which was based on a microservices approach, created a modern method to quickly add new capabilities. Our consortium obviously is no longer tied to one vendor who controlled the resource sharing software, its features, and what ILSs can connect to it. EBSCO and Knowledge Integration committed to develop OpenRS to be fully integrated with disparate ILSs with all the features that we required. We had a document that outlined all the features that we needed, and they committed to developing those. They made a financial and development commitment to meet our time frame, which was very rigorous. Essentially, it was like 1.5 years to get a product up and going. Hindsight, I wish we hadn't done that, but it was the timeline that we had. We had to move forward off of our contract from Innovative in order to get to Folio. In order to get to Folio, we had to leave off of InReach, which means we needed a resource sharing platform. So we had to move forward very quickly. We still feel that OpenRS offers a more flexible opportunity, include a wider variety of platforms as we continue to grow and evolve. We feel very dedicated to this product and feel firmly that it was the right choice in the long term, though we've certainly had some growing pains in the last year or two trying to get there. If anyone has ever been through development, you'll understand what that means. It's not easy going through development in real time, using it at your access services desk and your reference desk and everything else, trying to make something work. This is our OpenRS model right now. OpenRS obviously is our resource sharing platform. We have 62 libraries who share a Folio ECS platform. And then we have 4 libraries on a separate Folio system, 5 Sierra libraries, and 3 Polaris libraries, all connecting to OpenRS for resource sharing. And ta-da, we went live on June 12th of 2024, a day that we will remember forever, I think. So it's been a little over a year. Development continued. It certainly wasn't ready on June 12th. Not all of our development was done. We were still working with EBSCO and knowledge integration, still meeting with them on a regular basis, trying to get all that development done. Some statistics that we have here, we have 72 libraries live. Since that day, which has been 463 days as of September 18th, we've had almost 72,000 requests on our MOBIUS Union Catalog, which is about 176 average number of requests per day. And our Union Catalog has a little over 23 million bibliographic records in it. The development was happening, like I said, on a daily basis. We would start in the morning oftentimes doing testing, rather intense testing, with our libraries. And by late afternoon, things may have changed completely from what you started with that morning, because it was so labor intensive and because things were happening so quickly, trying to get everything ready for our go live day, that setting expectations was oftentimes difficult to do. Change management and overcoming our obstacles throughout that last year or two was hard. Change is hard for anyone. I can't think of anyone who would say, I love change. And so change was hard for our libraries. We ended up doing a lot of really intensive testing, and our libraries had to get very involved in that. Some of our libraries really stepped up to that and were very involved with knowledge integration with EBSCO and doing some testing. They did testings on their live systems. Those who had test servers did testing for us on their test servers. They worked directly with the staff at EBSCO and knowledge integration doing that. You'd start, like I said, in the morning going, this works, that doesn't work, then test it again by afternoon. This could happen daily for weeks and weeks on end. And we did this for a good year until we went live. And even after live, we were still testing new features and trying to get things going. But I have to say, the libraries that really participated in this really stepped up and did a phenomenal job in doing that. But after about a year, there started to be some burnout on that, I have to say. It was hard to manage those expectations when we didn't always know what those expectations were, since this was happening in real time and we were developing things as we went along. And we were on the bleeding edge of new development and new technology. You know, it's one thing to write a list of new features, but then the developers come back and say, well, you want this feature now, how do you want it to work? Oh, well, it sounded good on a piece of paper. Yeah, how do we want it to work? You have this option and this option and this option. So we were working intensively with the developers every single day, trying to figure out how we wanted things to work. We found, as anyway, keys to success is always communication. We learned some things along the way. Communicating is key to everything that you do. We had weekly newsletters about Folio because we were also migrating to Folio during this time. And we were also the first library to go on ECS. So we were also working with EBSCO and ECS development. So there was a lot going on all at once. But we had weekly newsletters. We had open forums on Zoom where any of our members could come into a Zoom meeting and ask questions, talk about anything they wanted about Folio or OpenRS or anything really. So we had those weekly, sometimes twice a week. We had meetings with KN and EBSCO every week, sometimes twice a week. We had individual emails, and it was funny because not funny really, but odd that sometimes we were told there was too much information coming out. We were overloading our membership with information. It was just too much for them to keep up with all the emails and all the information, plus do their day job and keep up with what was going on with MOBIUS. And then sometimes we were told we weren't giving out enough information or the right information. So it was kind of like, well, where's the middle ground here? What do we do? So, and like I said, since things were changing every single day, it was difficult from the office perspective to figure out what to send out to everybody, but we tried our best to do that. We knew we were pioneers. We knew we needed to support the people and not so much the technology when it came to everything. But we were dedicated to the project, and there were a lot of our libraries that were dedicated and determined to make things work. We knew we were being innovative, and that it was important that we highlighted and shared the success with everything. One thing that we did learn that we should have done all along is shared quick wins with everyone instead of having big releases that had lots of new features in them as we went along, that we should have done short little installs of new features. That way it kind of kept people moving along instead of them waiting for a big release with lots of new things. And then we started doing that at some point, going, oh, well, here's a new feature. Bang. Oh, that makes us a little happier. That one's here. And now here's this one and here's this one instead of waiting for a big one. You know, so we learned about that. But the short-term discomfort for all of us, now that we can look back and see, is that we're building something that's for a lot of other consortia. We hope Galileo goes live soon in December, as she said, and that, yes, we were the first ones to do it, and we're still not done. There's still some features left on our contract, but we're almost done. There's still some bugs in the software that we're working out, but we're almost there. We still meet with EBSCO and Knowledge Integration every week, working real hard on that spreadsheet of lists of things, and we're getting there really closely. So, I just have to remember that the old adage that today's change is tomorrow's opportunity, and I really strongly believe in that. And I have to appreciate everyone that has been involved in this project and all the hard work and dedication that everyone's put into that, whether it was our membership or it was EBSCO or Knowledge Integration staff. So, and the Founders Council has been very supportive as we've went through this in the last year. So, Mark?
More slides?
A few more. Just
No, I don't.
okay. Thank you both. So just before we go to questions, so the response since last year's WOLFcon, we've actually had interest globally in OpenRS, which I'm pleased to say. The website went live, I think, just before WOLFcon last year. We've had we've had interest expressed through that, which is great. We've been responding to tenders for both OpenRS, DCB and ILL. And that activity, that interest, that sales activity with EBSCO and KINT, and also kind of keeping the Founders Council informed on this, has been in the US, in the United Kingdom, in Europe, Middle East and North Africa, and Asia Pacific as well. So that's been really welcome. That interest has been there. Obviously, what we really want to get to is a point where MCO are absolutely happy, Galileo are live, and that will put us on.
So happy.
Happy as well, so live and happy, and that will put us on a good front foot. But actually, to be fair, as we've been going through this year, the interest has been already expressed, and I think that's a testament to the work that's been done already. If you are interested in this, if you want to get in touch, two things. One is the next session after this Richard Mann from Knowledge Integration is going to do the OpenRS roadmap, so I'd urge you to come along to that. It's going to be really, really good. Otherwise, if you're interested, do come through the OpenRS website, openrs.org, or info@openrs.org. Do get in touch. It's usually me who responds. I get very excited if we get emails through there. So do try to make me happy, live and happy. But I think that is everything. So that's as much we're going to say. Are there questions?
I'm going to open up the chat here so we can see if there's anything up in it. Stop sharing and bring the chat up. Questions in the room? I'm not trying to preempt that.
Sorry. Is the microphone seem to go away somewhere? So I don't know where that
No, it's just
went.
need to speak more. Oh, the microphone is over here. I'll get it.
Okay. Are there any questions in the room from anybody?
Yes, I think I might know the answer to this, but Donna, in terms of the implementation and, the work, I guess, for your staff, and since you've done innovative and, in-reach side, how difficult would you say that was? The profiling and getting all the libraries.
Oh, up and running?
Yeah.
Well, since it was a new thing,
Okay.
brand new, onboarding, no, I mean, it was something new that had to be developed. So, yeah, I think it's easier now than it was in the beginning.
Right.
And I think they're still refining that.
Yeah.
So,
And is there anything you did or they did to, to kind of prepare for this ahead of time? Like getting certain data out of InReach or,
we didn't get any
things-
data out of it.
Okay.
All the data
Right.
was harvested from
Oh,
the
right.
beginning.
All the systems.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, from Folio and from the libraries, Sierra and Polaris systems.
Okay.
So nothing was taken out of InReach.
Any other questions from anybody?
Okay. All right.
Don't be shy. Now's your chance. In which case, thank you all very much for your attention. I've just checked online. I don't think there are any online questions. Thank you for those online who've been attending. Thank you to in the room. Have a good rest of the conference.